Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday morning. Today we're going to be drawing this little prairie dog figurine here. We're going to talk about the history and life cycle of prairie dogs, and we're going to draw this little puppy. So stick with me, put us on in the background, get you some coffee, chat if you're here. We'd love to hear from you and visit with you. I'm going to spritz these watercolors real quick, make sure they're nice and juicy. Make sure they're nice and juicy and moist. I like them juicy and moist so that when I go to use them later on, they're nice and creamy. So, yeah, Wednesday mornings at 5:30 is when we pull a toy from the randomogrifier and we start drawing it. We actually do that every day at 5:30, and we talk about it. So today's random object from the random object random object randomogrifier, is a prairie dog. Prairie dogs are from a long, old family. They've been their family differentiated, rodentia differentiated about 35 million years ago, 30 to 35 million years ago. And prairie dogs themselves differentiated from that about 3 million years ago. They're very closely related to ground squirrels and badgers. And one of the first things that struck me about the prairie dog was its similarities to meerkats. Because it's interesting to me, they occupy the same niche in their environment as far as body shape goes. They don't do the same functions though. I I thought that they would have been more similar. They're not. Prairie dogs are herbivores. Meerkats are carnivores, as demonstrated in the Lion King movie when they eat the bugs. They're insectivores. Slimy, but satisfying. But prairie dogs are herbivores. They like the plant life. They like the plant life. They are, let's see. They're all over the southwest United States. There's about 5 species of them, 5 subspecies of them. There's the black-tailed, which is what we have primarily in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma. That's the one most of my people are used to seeing. There's the whitetail, which is more Montana, Wyoming area. There is the Gunnison, which is also the Montana, Colorado type places. And then they're not real clear on the origin of these other two, the Utah and the Mexican. They're not real clear on the origin of those. I will have to research that and get back to you. But jokingly aside, these things are everywhere. But the Utah and the Mexican prairie dogs are the Utah and the Mexican prairie dogs are struggling. They're endangered, which I never would have thought a rat would be endangered. This is a rat. This is a rodent. Its teeth continue to grow its entire life. It is a rodent. That foot should be way out here. That foot should be way out here. Let's fix that. My mom is in my ear talking about how they're super invasive, and we're going to talk about that for a minute too, because we are they super invasive, or are we super invasive? Because they were here first, and it's an interesting thing. They aerate the land. They provide uh, nesting area uh, for like ground owls. They uh, they keep the vegetation diverse by bringing in other vegetations, and by bringing in other seeds and plants into the area, and they keep the vegetation from overgrowing an area by eating it. And we like to talk about them being invasive, but they have a pretty solid use. They have a pretty solid niche that they fulfill in the ecosystem. And what we don't like is, we're dependent on our crops, and it it's hard to grow crops in a place where the prairie dogs are digging holes. It's hard to have horses in a place where the prairie dogs are digging holes, gopher holes, prairie dog holes. These things are dangerous to horses because they step in them and break their legs. And so we get mad at them and we think they're invasive. But I think we should do more to get along with them, to tell you the truth. My mom is asking if they live in colonies. They do live in colonies. They live in little colonies they call prairie dog towns. They live in colonies of about 100, between 20 to 100 uh, prairie dogs. And then when that colony gets overrun, they will move over 100 feet and start a new colony. So it's not, when they say that there's 20 to 100 prairie dogs in a colony, they're not really saying there's only 20 to 30 prairie dogs. They're saying there's 20 to 30 prairie dogs. They're saying there's 20 to 30 prairie dogs in that burrow. Morning, Claudia. Well, afternoon. I know it's your lunchtime, but they're really saying there's only 20 to 30 prairie dogs in that burrow. Their burrows are up to 100 feet deep, and they're very specialized. They have bedrooms and nurseries in their burrows. They have community spaces in their burrows. Their burrows are their burrows are very specialized uh, in the way that they're set up. And when their young ones will stay with them uh, for about a year, and then they'll start to branch out on their own, which means they'll go over 100 feet and make their own burrow. Did you do? Can't talk, Harding. Okay, how are we doing on time? Oh, it's already 5:40. We're actually right on time with this part of it. That's right where we wanted to be. When I was looking up the details about this, and I was looking up the things that the farmers really detest about prairie dogs and why they get such a bad rep in the farming communities, I am reminded that the farmers have changed their farming practices over the tens of tens of thousands of years that we've been farming. Because we've only really been farming only about 12,000 years, and some of that's documented in Leviticus. One of the one of the rules in Leviticus, and I think it's Leviticus 25. One of the rules lined out is that you're supposed to let a seventh of your land stand fallow for about a year every 7 years, which means that for that entire year, you let the prairie dogs run free. For that entire year, you let whatever grows grow, whatever eats eat. The prairie dogs run free. And then the next year, you move that over to another section. And the next year, you move that over to another section. And we kind of moved away from that practice, but that would have kept the prairie dogs doing what they're supposed to be doing. That would have kept the prairie dogs doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, aerating the soil, bringing in the nutrients, bringing in the diversity of life, the predators, the cleaners. Yeah, Claudia, there's 6 watching. You'd think there'd be more chatters. You'd think there'd be more chatters. And I'm not bringing up Leviticus because I think we ought to be following any particular religion. That's beside the point. I'm bringing up Leviticus because it is 10,000 years of social. Oh, I thought she was talking about number of people chatting. My mom says that Claudia's talking about lookouts in the community, not number of people, not number of people chatting. I was confused. I was confused. But yeah, it's just 10, 12,000 years of social commentary that we could learn from on practices that used to be, and there are more people moving to those kinds of practices. There are more people trying to do more sustainable farming methods that don't come in and kill all the existing animals like prairie dogs. But I can tell you, uh, in Lawton, Oklahoma, there is a National Guard armory right outside of town, right on the very edge of town. And they had a prairie dog infestation right on the side of the road. And the biggest problem with the prairie dogs there is they they got run over. They would get on the street. They would get run over. Uh, they would dig holes and cause people to fall down. And so they decided to move them. So they loaded them up. They set traps. They caught a bunch of them. and they moved them over onto Fort Sill. All was well and good until they realized they didn't catch even half of them, and all they had really done was created a prairie dog colony on Fort Sill and kept the prairie dog colony that they had out at the National Guard Armory. I didn't want that ear to have paint in it. Now we got to make everything darker around that ear. It'll be all right. All right. So by not catching all of them, they ended up making 2 colonies because it only takes a couple of them. The population grows at about 20% a year, 20% annually. Prairie dogs are mostly in the Southwest. Their home is the grasslands, the prairies, and so if you go back east, there's not as much prairie place for them, so they're not there. Their home is in the prairie. Give me a home with a buffalo roam. But yeah, they're primarily in the Southwest, Midwest, Southwest. There are some in Mexico. They're down near the border of Mexico and in Mexico. They have that was the joke earlier. You may have missed that one. We were joking earlier about where to find them, and it's typically Wyoming, Montana, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. But the blacktails are in Arizona and the Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas. The whitetails are in Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. The Gunnisons are in primary Wyoming and Colorado. But we don't know where the Utah prairie dogs and the Mexican prairie dogs actually are. Let me dry this real quick. Hi, Elizabeth. Happy lunchtime. Buen provecho. And to Claudia and Elizabeth, buen provecho, which is how they say bon appetit in Spanish. Because it is their lunchtime. Yeah, the Mexican ones and the Utah ones are endangered, actually, because of habitat loss, but primarily because there's a plague. There's a plague currently running through the prairie dogs that is killing them off. And the Utah ones and the Mexican prairie dogs are particularly susceptible to this plague. And so they are struggling with those. Prairie dogs are they're speciated. There are 5 species of them, subspecies of them. They're closely related to ground squirrels and badgers. There are 5 subspecies of them, and if they get together, like the whitetails and the blacktails, if they get together, they might mate, but they don't really cross paths. If it weren't for the disease, for the plague, I don't think there would be much of a struggle, because they're rodents and they reproduce quickly, but they have about 5 to 8 kittens per litter, and only about a 50% survival rate to maturity, to sexual maturity, and they only have 1 litter per year. So that actually slows them down from the other rodents. I need to dry this so we can ink it. Eight smackala. Eight smackala. Smackala or smacky loose. Smackala loose. Smackala. Elizabeth is saying that in Dutch they say eet smakelijk, which is their version of buen provecho, or bon appetit. But if you throw them together, if you throw whitetails and blacktails together, for instance, they will mate. Don't talk with your dryer on. I know, right? I know, right? Kind of like don't talk with your mouth full. Age smack look. So they will mate if thrown together, but they don't overlap. They don't come into contact with each other frequently, and so they don't mate. And it's kind of like what we talked about with the salamanders around the mountain, and the dolphins and the penguins. It's not that they can't mate, it's that they won't mate. It's that they're weird. They think they're nerds. The one group, the one group likes mariachi, the one group likes the ska music, and then the rest of the group is dancing to the Bee Gees, Staying Alive, Staying Alive. And they think everybody else is dancing weird. And so it's not that they don't mate, it's that they won't mate. Not that they can't mate, but that they won't mate. Oh, Mom says the subtle hint is in the dark. You know what that means is that you can't see what I'm drawing because the lights are not on. This whole time I was like, how come I have so much shadow? I can't figure out why I have so much shadow. And it's because I didn't turn the lights on. When they mate, they'll form little mating parties. Yeah, there's a dino over there. When they mate, they have they fight for their little rights to mate, and then they pair off, and then they they don't really stay together for a season or anything like that, but they they share bedrooms for a little while, as one does. But they don't mate for life. They don't do anything like that. They only have one litter per year, which again I think is unusual for rodents. I thought rodents would mate like humans anytime they could. How are we doing on time now? Oh, it's 5:56. All right, let's see here. It is the 6th of August. Well, thank you. That was another version of the Sketch and Coffee from about not quite 10 years, about 8 years ago. That was charcoal. We may do charcoal next time. I don't know. I'm really kind of enjoying the ink and wash. But we may go back to charcoal next time. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, that was one of the, we started doing that. It was 2017. All right. So that is my version of the prairie dog. Stop. Overhead. If you look, there's my version of the prairie dog next to the prairie dog that you can see. Let's see it from my perspective. Dun, 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 dun. From my perspective, it's pretty close to my perspective. From my perspective, you get something like that. So that's what I did this morning. Prairie dogs. The little girl has pulled a canister for tomorrow, and we need to somehow figure out how to get a hold of Ojas. Ojas is Thunder Sketch. Buddy thinks it's an 8.5 out of 10. We need to get a hold of Thunder Sketch. Ojas. It's in Badana. I don't remember what the name is, but it's an Indian town. That is not the right one. This is the one we want. So because the canister for tomorrow is a goat. Somebody had asked us to draw a goat the other day, and I believe it was Ojas. And so a goat has come to the forefront. And so tomorrow, the 7th of August, Thursday, the 7th of August, if you're watching this, and it's the 7th of August, it's Thursday, the 7th of August, and it's before 5:30 in the morning, then you're watching the trailer, and this is what we're about to do, so stick around, we'll get right on it. But for the rest of us, no, it was Ojas. My mom's asking if it was Omar. I believe it was Ojas. Omar was the Egyptian. Ojas is the one from India. But that is what we had going on today. Tomorrow, be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance till somebody says they see me dancing. Because that way, by the way, this is all in a lesson plan. If you're a teacher or you have teacher friends that might enjoy doing a 20-30 minute lesson on prairie dogs, this is all in a lesson plan. Will be on my website later today. You can subscribe to the newsletter, and these things will make it straight into your inbox. It'll give you all of the same points and a summary of this transcript. So if you're interested in that, it's at artisticbiker.com. And we